ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. It's another smart ring review. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Ultrahuman Ring Air, the lightest smart ring out there. A ring that promises to give you deep insights to your health without a subscription. But is it worth the hefty price tag? Let's get into it. So the first question, as always, what is it? And why might you need it? It tracks a number of things, but one of the things that really they're pushing for is sleep tracking. It's tracking a lot of different metrics to do with your sleep. That's not just the quality of your sleep, that's a number of other factors related to your sleep. This is really an accessory to an app for iOS or Android that gives you a lot of information. Obviously, it has no screen, so if you want to access that data, you're going to be using the app. It gives you insights into things like your temperature, your heart rate variability. Now, the reason those things might be useful are, one, is that you can potentially predict an illness that might be coming if your temperature and heart rate might be going up. And two, you can accurately track your movement and your fitness. So you can use these metrics to see how your fitness is changing over time. You can use your heart rate variability to develop a recovery score. So it's very similar to what the Whoop does in using that heart rate variability. That was kind of the USP of the Whoop band, the strap, when it came out, is that it's using this new metric that we haven't really heard about much to calculate a recovery score. So this can also do that. So I've been wearing this ring now for almost 3 months, and I'm gonna tell you everything about it and if it is actually worth the money. We can see here, it's giving me a score of my sleep on the screen. It tells me what actually that sleep was compared to my other sleep, and it gives me a comment on that. So here it's saying nice momentum. So that basically implies that actually my sleep is getting better. It tells me my duration was 6 hours 15, which it's not very happy about, and I only got 2 full sleep cycles. And so if we take an example here of actually, it's saying my heart rate dropped, so how soon my heart rate dropped to what it would consider a good heart rate for when you're sleeping. If it's considering that metric as needing attention, we can press it, and one of the things I actually like is it gives you actionable things that you can use to help improve that metric. So it's saying this may be impacting your sleep quality, and here are some things that you can do to actually change that. And really the main thing with this it talks about is meal timing before bed and calming yourself before bedtime. Realistically, they are things that you should know already, but it's nice to have it on a kind of easy prompt there. And it also gives you your different sleep stages, your sleep cycles, your heart rate and heart rate variability during sleep as well. And it has some nice buzzwords like advanced sleep biomarkers. I don't know. One of the things I like about the sleep function really is the sleep debt that it creates. Now, I'm not sure about my belief in the sleep debt and if you can truly catch up with debt of sleep, but if you're sleeping less and less and less, it starts giving you suggested sleeping times, which I think is quite helpful. So it's saying that tonight I should sleep between 11:37 and 12:07 a.m. Now, next I'm going to briefly go into the movement index. So the movement index tells me about the number of calories that I've burned, the total number of steps that I've done, and the active hours I've had in the daytime. It also tells me about my workout. So today I did a workout, although this isn't flawless because you do have to take this off if you're doing weight training, which I'll come on to a bit later. App also tells me about some other interesting things. So it tells me about my stress rhythm. Am I stressed, stimulated, or relaxed? Now, what am I actually going to do with this information? I'm not sure, but I guess it's kind of interesting to know. It's using my resting heart rate, my temperature, and my heart rate variability to calculate a recovery score. And I can use this to basically say, well, how hard can I go today? How hard can I train today? And that's the idea of the recovery score you have in the Whoop, and that's something that they've kind of emulated here. That I don't think is really what they were going for as the key number one thing, and I can tell that because it's slightly lower down in the app. And then finally, if we scroll down, we've got a number of other things. We've got some power plugs and some smart goals, things that I'll come on to a little bit later. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about some of the best parts of this ring. And the first one has to be the sleep information that it gives you. Is that it's not only the sleep insights, because telling me that actually my heart rate drop was bad or that my sleep efficiency was bad is kind of useless information to me. But being able to then click on that and then get information about, well, that may happen because of this. Your heart rate drop may be bad because you've exercised late or eaten late. Consider these things, gives you sometimes a bit of a prompt to say, well, actually, this is something that I could improve. The other thing I like is actually being able to assess and check my temperature. Now, that isn't exclusive to this. I could buy a thermometer and check my temperature or other smart trackers. So we know from medicine that physiologically, when you're at a time of illness, your temperature goes up, your heart rate goes up, your respiratory rate goes up. These are your body's natural way of fighting an infection. So you can use this to kind of predict when you might be about to become unwell. The next thing I like is actually something that's tracking your heart rate so closely and all of the time gives you a good indication of your fitness. So we know that the fitter you get, your resting heart rate is going to decrease. So it is kind of an objective measure of, I know that I'm getting fitter by checking my resting heart rate slowly decrease the more aerobic exercise I'm doing month on month. It's kind of a nice thing to be able to see, and it's a good objective measure of fitness. That from June to July, my resting heart rate went from 73 to 67 to 65, and I know I was exercising a lot during these months. The ring actually looks really nice. It's got the sensors inside, so actually you can't tell it's a smart ring without being able to look on the inside of it. And on the outside, it kind of just looks like a piece of jewelry. I can't actually remember the color name of the one that I got, but I think it looks great. The battery life advertised by Ultrahuman is 6 days. I usually get around 4 days of battery with this, but it's intermittently needing charging, which is like my Apple Watch, I will charge pretty much every night. It will last 2 days, but I charge it every night and I'm in a habit of that. Because this, I don't have a habit of charging it every night. I charge it when it tells me to charge it. Sometimes it does run out because I'm a bit disorganized like that. So it's good and bad. Lasts 4 days, which I think is pretty decent for a ring, but the intermittent charging does throw me off sometimes. We have to talk about probably my favorite thing to do with this ring, full stop, which is that there is 0 subscription fees. The Oura Ring, the main competitor in this space, you pay a subscription for every month. You pay for the device and then you pay a subscription. With this, there is 0 subscription. So now we're going to speak about some of the things that I didn't like about the ring. Now, the main one for me is that they recommend not wearing it when weightlifting because it's going to get scratched. Now for me that's a problem because I like to go to the gym, I like to do weightlifting and to use dumbbells and barbells. So every time I'm doing that, I'm having to take it off. The problem is two. One is I want to track what's happening in that time, but I can't with the ring because I can't wear it in the time. And two is that I am forgetful. And twice I've left the ring at the gym and I've had to call up and in a frantic hurry and had to find it. So it's a bit annoying to keep having to take it on and off like that. If you're someone who does that a lot. Equally, I play tennis and I take it off to play tennis because it will affect my grip otherwise. And I wear it on my right hand. I could change it to the other hand, but for some reason this finger's thinner than this finger. I don't know why. I'm just not the same on both sides, all right? And it just doesn't fit as well on this side, so I'm constantly wearing it on this side. And I've obeyed those rules. I haven't worn it weightlifting, but it has, over the past 3 months, got a fair few scratches on it now. So I don't know what it's gonna look like after 2 years of using it, which, I hope it lasts for a few years, but I think it's going to be a lot more scratched. I think it's going to get pretty scratched. As I've talked about in other videos of other things like the Whoop that tracks sleep, can sometimes be stressful. Often, you can listen to your own body about how you've been sleeping and respond to that. By tracking your sleep every night, is that making you more tired? That's the question you have to ask. And it's a genuine question. Sometimes I feel like I've slept okay, but I look at my metrics and I see that actually I haven't slept as much as I thought. And then psychologically, I think that makes me a little bit more tired, or in the back of my head, I'm thinking I'm more tired than I should be. So that's just something to be aware of. For me, I think there's a lot of wasted space in the app. They've stuck everything that I want in the first tab. The other tabs I don't really use for anything. They've got one for metabolism for another product they have, which is a continuous glucose monitor. They've got one called Zones, where you can track things with friends, but I don't have a friend that has one, so that's useless for me. And then you've got one called Discover. Now, Discover is actually quite interesting. It's an education platform. It's got lots of information, but ultimately this is also information you can find on YouTube and Spotify and in other places. I guess it's useful if you're a beginner to this, but I kind of wish they spread my information out a bit more. They introduced this new feature called power plugs. Now, power plugs are quite interesting. You can add different things like a screen time metric to tell you how much screen time you're getting, if you're getting enough vitamin D, your caffeine window. So caffeine window is actually a really good one, which tells you the time in which you can and can't have caffeinated drinks and which kinds of caffeinated drinks you can have Great. But then they've got other ones that now they want you to pay a subscription for. So cardio adaptability, atrial fibrillation detection. So one of the things I loved about not having a subscription is now actually you can have a subscription and you can pay £5 a month for this extra feature, which I understand it's from a third party, but one of the big pulls for me was the no subscription, and now to have certain features from it, you need a subscription. Is it worth getting one? Have I actually found it useful and beneficial? I would say almost certainly. I have found it useful, I have used it a lot. There are competitors as well, so the Oura Ring's the big one. Do you absolutely need one? Well, you don't absolutely need anything. You don't absolutely need an Apple Watch, you don't absolutely need an iPhone, but if you want to try and track this data and get some new information and try something out, it would be something that's worth checking out. But as a doctor and as someone medical, it is not an essential for anyone to have. But it's a kind of fun tool to play around with and to get extra data from. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Are you team Smart Ring or other fitness trackers? Let us know in the comments. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.